There's a unique people with very ancient traditions and customs that are hidden by a very modern-looking society. A country that is ever changing, yet ever the same, where the old is intertwined with the new. That country is Japan. We're Dave and Glenda Carter, and this year we're celebrating our 30th year of serving the Lord in Japan. Tokyo, where we are now working, is a very fascinating city. It is the most densely populated city in the world. With a population of 33 million people in the area the size of Rhode Island, it has an average of 15,000 people per square mile. This scene here is only a small section of the area of Tokyo. It is a city where the maddening rush of people continues day in and day out. It's a place where wide open spaces mean little, if anything. This crosswalk in downtown Shibuya is said to be the busiest intersection in the world. This massive movement of people occurs every 3 minutes, all day long, every day. Most Japanese ride their bicycles to the nearest train stations where they catch a train to work. Rush hour can be quite crowded on the trains, sometimes to the point where the phrase "feeling like a sardine in a can" doesn't quite cut it. Just when you're sure that no one else can fit in, there's always a latecomer who is determined to prove you wrong. Once inside the train, everyone is comfortable and cozy, but that lasts only as long as your destination, and the madness starts all over again. More and more people are driving these days, so the roads going into the city get jammed as well. Driving on some roads in Japan, however, might offer a bit more of a challenge. Japan is such a land of contrasts. The world views it as an economic giant with cutting-edge technology that can be seen everywhere. Yet roadside street vendors can be seen everywhere too, selling everything from vegetables and buckwheat noodles to a bean paste-filled pastry treat loved by kids and adults alike. Here at this yakitori shop, you can put your order in and then watch as they grill local favorites such as liver, chicken, and cow tongue on a skewer. Or you can find stands selling tasty grilled octopus, regular size or small. Sushi is still enjoyed by all Japanese and many missionaries. There are many types of sushi, including raw octopus and squid, as well as many different types of raw fish. There are cooked sushi as well, such as shrimp, egg, and eel. If local cuisine is not your taste, you can find some of the finest restaurants anywhere in the world. Every new home still has at least one Japanese-style room of a straw mat floor and paper doors. The toilets have gotten much fancier. Of course, they still have the Japanese-style commodes in the floor, but nowadays you can find Western-style ones almost everywhere, with heated seats and the choice of a wash, rinse, and blow dry if you desire. In the nice homes, the toilet cover will raise automatically by a sensor. Japan is truly a land of great beauty and art. Here you can find 300-year-old bonsai trees that have been meticulously cared for, or beautiful parks that are covered in pink cherry blossoms. But there is a dark side of Japan as well. Not just the nightlife of sin at bars and entertainment establishments, but the religious side as well. Most of the Japanese believe in both Buddhism and Shintoism. Here you can find over 80,000 shrines and temples all throughout the country. Most of the Japanese go to different shrines or temples several times a year. First, they pass through the torii, or gate of so-called blessings. Then they'll wash their hands and mouth at a stone water basin before offering prayers. Then they'll throw in a coin or two, clap their hands to wake up the gods, and say a short prayer. They buy wooden plaques on which they write prayers for health, love, success in their jobs, and school. Occasionally, you'll see a priest putting his blessings on a car for safety. The Japanese often visit their ancestors' grave, where they'll offer their spirits water, flowers, incense, as well as other things during the year. This lady is cleaning around her ancestor's grave and will offer incense and worship there when she's finished. On the tombstone is written the words, "At peace," but without Christ, there is no peace, for He is the only one who can provide rest for their souls. Idolatry is everywhere, and yet these age-old religions require very little from their day-to-day lifestyles. But the Lord continues to do a wonderful work among the Japanese, even in this spiritually dark country. Glenda and I came to Japan 30 years ago in 1976. We want to thank all of you who have upheld us with your support and prayers. When Glenda and I arrived in Japan, the Japanese were fairly receptive to the gospel. The first church I pastored averaged 82 during a special push of several months. During one Christmas, we had an attendance of nearly 1,000 people in various locations throughout the city. We also had our first youth group, where 2 men are serving the Lord full-time today as pastors. In 1979, after language school, my second pastorate was on the eastern side of Tokyo, where I started this work. We saw hundreds attend, with our largest attendance being 132. Here, the Lord saved one young boy who is now pastor of another church I would start in another city 10 years later. The church he is pastoring is on the outskirts of Tokyo, where they now have their own building and is a growing work. After leaving that church, we started another new work for the Japanese at a military church, the Yokota Baptist Church. We saw God bring in a constant flow of new people here, and it was finally turned over to a national pastor. Around 5 years ago, we started Akigawa Baptist Church on the western side of Tokyo. Our son Steve and his family joined us around 3 years ago to help with the work. We have Sunday school in this rented hall to reach the children in the neighborhood. Some parents bring their children and get the gospel as well. We also have our morning church service here.
来るさるのですから、神様のご意見が大切ですね。
Because we can only rent this hall on Sunday mornings, our other church services are held in our home. By doing this, we have an outreach in 2 different areas of our city. Besides our morning and evening services on Sunday, we also have other outreach ministries. One of them is the 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon English Bible class, where we teach the Bible for 30 minutes in Japanese and then give 30 minutes of English for free. Because this class is just before our evening service, we often have students stay for that as well. We've also been able to hold special services throughout the year, such as Thanksgiving or Christmas. Many people who would not usually come to a normal service will come to these special services and hear the gospel for the first time in their lives. Many of these services are so full, we'd run out of places to put their shoes. Another outreach is our annual barbecue, where we have close to 50 people attend from year to year. Here we cook hamburgers and hot dogs and let the people enjoy roasted marshmallows, which most Japanese have never tried before. After the eating is finished, we have a short service where we give the gospel to them. We're currently looking for land for a church building. As you may know, property in the Tokyo area is quite expensive. This property here will cost approximately $500,000, which is average for this area. Please pray for God to provide this very important need. Every Wednesday and Saturday morning is church visitation, where we use a variety of avenues to get out the gospel. One of these avenues is passing out tracts in front of train stations and public schools.
Okay, you're welcome.
Another avenue is door-to-door visitation. Most people we meet have never been to church, and very few know anything about the Bible. Since the teachings of God's words are so foreign and contrary to their beliefs, very few of the Japanese can grasp the concept of one God, let alone the gospel the first time they hear it. Because of that, it is a challenge to witness to the Japanese on their doorstep. First, we have to get them to the door, which can present a challenge in itself, because most people talk to us through a video intercom system on the outside wall or next to the front door. There are occasions when you seem to be talking to a blank wall, but then a hand reaches through to take a tract, or a door opens and there seems to be somewhat of an interest. The person who opens the door may be twice your age and half your size. You just never know. There are times when we do find people who are indeed interested in listening to the plan of salvation. Because the Japanese are well educated and well-to-do, and because Japan has become so modern, we tend to be blind to their complete spiritual darkness and their need for Christ. God's love for the Japanese is just as passionate as it has always been, and his desire for them to be saved is just as strong. His calling to us is just as sure as it was 30 years ago, and the need for workers in this harvest is just as great. Your prayers for the people we are trying to reach are just as needed today as they were when we first arrived in Japan. Please pray that God will use our churches for His honor and glory to reach Tokyo and the world beyond as well.